You didn't find this video by accident. No, this moment was divinely orchestrated. You've been set apart by God, handpicked for a purpose greater than you can yet imagine. Can you feel it? That pull deep within your soul, a sense that every hardship, every betrayal, every fiery trial was not in vain. God has been leading you here, step by step. Every struggle, every relentless spiritual attack, yes, even the assaults of Jezebel's spirit, was allowed to refine you. What you've faced wasn't random. It was preparation. Preparation for a calling that stretches far beyond the confines of religious tradition, far beyond the expectations of men. You've been tested in ways that most people couldn't endure. Have you wondered why your path has been so uniquely challenging? It's because God is forging you into something extraordinary. For He knows the way that I take. When He has tested me, I will come forth as gold. Job 23:10. Others may not understand the depth of your battles, but you've never been alone. In the silence, God has been sharpening you. In the isolation, He's been strengthening your spirit, molding you into a vessel prepared for His glory. What He has planned for you cannot be contained by the walls of any church or the traditions of men. This is the moment you've been waiting for, the unveiling of what God has been doing in the shadows. But have you ever questioned why so many religious institutions feel hollow? The churches you've known may have grand appearances, but inside you've sensed the emptiness. You've witnessed leaders obsessed with their platforms, consumed by power and the praise of men. They preach doctrines laced with pride, holding others to impossible standards while secretly breaking them themselves. These people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Matthew 15:8. And as they build their earthly kingdoms, you've seen through their facades, haven't you? You've felt the disconnect, knowing their focus isn't on God, but on their own gain. But here's the truth. They can't stop you. Why? Because you are different. You've been called to stand apart. You are not bound by rituals or confined by the traditions that others cling to so tightly. God has placed within you a raw, unfiltered understanding of His love, a truth that goes beyond words, beyond rituals. You've seen how some twist His word to serve their own agendas, using the guise of submission to maintain control. Does it make you wonder how many have been silenced by their manipulation? Yet you stand unbroken. God's kingdom isn't built on oppression. It's built on liberation, on souls like yours, free and alive in His Spirit. So, chosen one, can you feel it? The silence around you isn't punishment, it's preparation. God has hidden you for a time, but now the unveiling begins. The question is, are you ready to step into the purpose for which you've been prepared? Chosen ones, before God makes you world famous, enjoy the silence. Chosen one. They've tried to silence you. They've labeled you rebellious, unworthy, and unfit to belong. Does that sound familiar? Those accusations weren't just about you. They were about the calling they couldn't comprehend. You see, the very things they tried to use against you are the reasons God chose you. The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone, Psalm 118:22. You were never meant to fit into their mold because God designed you for something far greater. He called you out of the system, not because you didn't belong, but because the system could never contain the power, the vision, and the anointing He placed within you. Rejection was part of your journey. Think about it. Why would the very people who claim to represent God turn against you? The answer lies in the threat you pose to their comfort, their traditions, and their control. They saw in you something they couldn't manipulate, authenticity. But their rejection wasn't a setback. It was a setup for your refining. Like gold purified in the fire, every betrayal, every false accusation burned away the lies they tried to plant in your heart. Was it painful? Absolutely, but necessary, without question. Through the pain, God was stripping away every false teaching, every doctrine of control, so that your faith could stand on truth alone. You endured because God was preparing you. Think back to the moments when you felt most alone. Didn't it feel as if the very heavens were silent? Yet, even in those moments, God was at work. And after you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace will himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you. 1 Peter 5:10. He allowed you to walk through rejection to refine you, to teach you how to discern his voice above all others. The religious hypocrites who cast you out could never understand the depth of your calling, because it doesn't fit within their limited understanding of God's power. So, let me ask you, could it be that their rejection was God's redirection? Could it be that the fire wasn't meant to destroy you, but to reveal the unshakable foundation of your faith? They thought they were disqualifying you, but in truth, they were confirming what heaven already knew. You are chosen, set apart for a purpose they could never fathom. The system tried to contain you, but it failed. Why? Because God's plans for you are not bound by human structures. They've called you unworthy, but God calls you his own. They've cast you out, but he has drawn you closer. And as you stand here today, scarred but stronger, can you feel the weight of what you've been prepared for? The silence wasn't the end. It was the beginning of your revelation. You're no longer bound by their rules. The chains they forged with their traditions, their pride, and their demands have been broken. You've torn down the false images they've built, those golden calves of self-righteousness and control. No longer will you bow to their hollow authority, nor will you accept the yoke of their man-made doctrines. What they called rebellion was actually your awakening. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. John 8:32. And now you stand unshackled, walking boldly in the freedom that only God can give. You've unlearned their lies. Remember when they taught you that God was distant, a stern judge whose love you had to earn through rituals and submission to their authority? It wasn't true, was it? You've seen through their deceit. You now know that God's love is not transactional, but unconditional, a love that flows freely to the broken, the humble, and the outcast. Their hierarchy, where power belongs only to the elite, no longer holds sway over you. Why? Because you've discovered the truth. God's power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. It is not reserved for those at the top, but flows through those who are willing to surrender to him, not man. You've rejected their system of control. Can you see it clearly now? Their doctrines were never about glorifying God. They were about preserving their power. They wielded submission as a weapon, demanding obedience to their authority instead of pointing you to the freedom found in Christ. But you refused to conform. You chose instead to embrace the radical truth of God's kingdom, where the last will be first and the first will be last. Matthew 20:16. Does it surprise you that this truth terrifies them? You reflect the heart of God, not them. The very people who cast you aside, claiming you were unworthy, now find themselves on the outside looking in. Why? Because God has chosen you not for your perfection, but for your willingness to be his vessel. Think of the broken pieces of your life, the scars you carry. Aren't those the very places where his light shines the brightest? But we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us. 2 Corinthians 4:7. You are that jar of clay, fragile yet filled with his glory. You're not like them, and that's exactly why you were chosen. Religious institutions cannot contain the fullness of God's love. They build walls to keep people out, but you were called to break them down. You are his ambassador, carrying his love to the lost, the forgotten, and the broken-hearted. Can you feel the weight of that calling? The truth is, they've tried to silence you because you embody everything they cannot control, the raw, unfiltered love of God. So now, as you stand in this freedom, ask yourself, what will you do with it? Will you let their rejection define you? Or will you walk boldly in the purpose for which you've been chosen? Their rules no longer apply. You've been called to something higher, a life that reveals God's love in ways they could never imagine. This is your time, chosen one. Will you step into it? You carry His truth, unshackled, unbroken, and unburdened. The weight of man-made rules no longer rests on your shoulders. You are His chosen one, the embodiment of grace and freedom they can only preach about, but never truly understand. Can you feel it? That quiet stirring in your soul is the Spirit moving, preparing you for something far greater than you've ever dared to imagine. Every trial, every scar, every moment of suffering, it was all for this purpose. God has been at work, forging your path through the fire of transformation. Those cracks in your spirit, the brokenness you thought could never be mended, have been painstakingly rebuilt by His hands. He tore down the false structures within you, dismantling the lies and limitations that held you back, and replaced them with resilience and divine purpose that only you can carry. God is elevating you for His glory, not yours. Do you see it now? The trials you endured, the tears you shed in the silence, none of it was wasted. While the world chased after recognition and applause, you were hidden in the shadows, fighting battles that no one else could see. But God saw. He witnessed every crushing blow, every moment you fell to your knees in despair. You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book. Psalm 56:8. He was there, catching every tear, whispering hope into your spirit, pulling you back when you thought you couldn't go on. You didn't seek this platform. It was chosen for you. While others scrambled for recognition, your heart sought only God's presence. You didn't chase after fame or validation, yet God is preparing to elevate you because your journey was never about self-glory. This is not the elevation the world understands, where applause fills the void left by emptiness. No, this is divine elevation, one that comes with purpose, weight, and eternal significance. The cracks in your soul, the scars you bear, are not marks of defeat. They are evidence of His handiwork. They are the places where His light shines brightest. Your life is a testament to His power. Imagine this, a beacon standing firm in the storm, its light piercing through the darkness, guiding the lost to safety. That's what you are becoming, a living testimony of God's redemption, a vessel that reflects His grace and power. This is why He is lifting you, not so that the world will see you, but so that through you they will see Him. Let your light so shine before others that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Matthew 5:16. This is your moment, but it's not about you. The elevation you're about to experience isn't for personal glory. It's for the glory of God's kingdom. You've seen the emptiness of fame, the hollow pursuit of applause, and you know that the world's version of recognition is fleeting. What God is preparing for you is different. It's not about standing on a pedestal, but about standing firm in faith, showing the world what true redemption looks like. So, chosen one, ask yourself this. Are you ready to step into what He has prepared for you? Are you ready to let your scars speak of His healing, to let your life be the beacon that guides others to Him? God's elevation is coming, not because of who you are, but because of who He is and what He has done through you. Will you rise and shine for His glory? This is your calling, your purpose, and your destiny. You, yes, you are the one who has been refined in the fire. The trials you've endured weren't just for survival. They were God's way of shaping you into the masterpiece He always intended you to be. Imagine the hands of a sculptor chiseling away the excess stone, uncovering the beauty hidden within. That's what he has done with you. And now the world is about to witness the unveiling. Many have sought the spotlight, their platforms built on the shaky foundation of ego and pride. But those platforms, like houses on shifting sands, will inevitably crumble. Yet your foundation, it's solid, immovable, rooted in divine purpose. Unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. Psalm 127:1. God himself has been building your platform, brick by brick, through every trial and triumph. Your elevation isn't by chance, it's by divine design. Do you realize how unique your journey is? Others may have reached for recognition, striving for worldly success, but you chose a different path. You chose humility over pride, endurance over giving up, and faith over seeking human validation. And it is precisely these choices, these acts of quiet obedience, that have qualified you for this moment. God's word says, "Humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time." 1 Peter 5:6. That time is now. You carry a message no one else can deliver. Think about the depths you've endured, the pain, the rejection, the nights when you cried out to God and heard nothing but silence. Those moments weren't wasted. They were the crucible that formed a message so powerful it could only come from someone who has walked through the fire and come out refined. The world is desperate for authenticity, for a voice that speaks not from theory, but from experience. That voice is yours. We comfort others in their trouble with the comfort we ourselves have received from God. 2 Corinthians 1:4. Your story, your journey, is a testimony that will transform lives in ways no sermon ever could. This isn't about you. It's about his glory. The platform God is preparing for you isn't for self-promotion or applause. It's for the sake of those who are still trapped in the very struggles you've overcome. You've been chosen to shine a light into their darkness, to be a living, breathing example of God's redemption. Have you ever wondered why your trials were so specific, why the fire burned so intensely? It's because your witness is meant for those who will recognize their own pain in your story. Through you, they will see the undeniable hand of God at work. The world will soon see why you were chosen. When God raises you up, it won't be subtle. It won't be something that can be ignored or dismissed. Your elevation will stand as a testament to his power, a reminder that his plans are unstoppable. Those who doubted you, dismissed you, or tried to silence you will have no choice but to acknowledge what God has done. But this moment isn't about vindication, it's about revelation. It's about revealing the truth of God's love and power through your life. So, chosen one, are you ready? Are you ready to step into the purpose for which you were made? The fire refined you, the trials prepared you, and now the time has come. You are not just a survivor, you are a vessel of his glory, carrying a message that will echo into eternity. Will you rise and let the world see what God has crafted in you? The spotlight isn't the goal, it's the tool through which his light will shine. The world is watching, but more importantly, heaven is cheering. Will you embrace your calling? This is your moment. You are in a season of divine silence, a stillness that feels heavy at times, as if the world has turned its face away and forgotten you. But this silence is sacred. It is not a punishment or an oversight. It is a deliberate pause orchestrated by the Creator himself. He has pulled you away from the noise, from the distractions that so easily entangle, to create a space where his voice can speak louder than the clamor of the world. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. The world tells you silence is a void, a place of insignificance. But in God's kingdom, Silence is the womb of transformation. The stillness you feel is not emptiness, it's preparation. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. He is sharpening your vision, refining your heart, and fortifying your soul. In this holy pause, He is building within you the strength and resilience for battles that lie ahead, battles you cannot yet see, but for which you are being meticulously prepared. You are not hidden, you are shielded. Like a seed buried in the soil, your life is being nurtured in secret, away from the prying eyes of the world. This is not isolation, it's divine incubation. God is working behind the veil, orchestrating a masterpiece that will one day be revealed in His perfect timing. Every breath you take in this season is a gift, filling your soul with the strength required for what's coming. This rest is not inactivity, it is renewal. Roots are growing deep beneath the surface. While the world rushes on, chasing fleeting moments of success, you are being anchored in something eternal. This is the gift of silence, to build an unshakable foundation. When the storms come, and they will, you will not be moved because your roots reach depths others cannot see. Those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion, which cannot be shaken but endures forever. Psalm 125:1. Do not despise this quiet season. It is your preparation. The world doesn't recognize the value of stillness, but you are not like the world. You've been chosen for a purpose so great that only this sacred pause could prepare you. God is pouring into you the wisdom, the discernment, and the endurance needed to carry what He's about to place in your hands. This season will not last forever. When it ends, it will be like the breaking of dawn after a long night. The shift will be swift, undeniable, and astonishing to those who thought you'd been forgotten. What felt like obscurity will prove to be the very cocoon from which you emerge, not as someone who has idled, but as someone who has been refined and readied by the Creator. You are on the brink of a divine turning point. Every tear you've cried, every quiet battle you've fought, every unseen effort you've made, all of it was part of God's design. What the enemy meant for harm, God has used for good. Genesis 50:20. The platform you're about to step onto is not something you sought after. It is something God has been preparing for you all along. And when the world sees you, they will not see your own strength. They will see the unmistakable hand of God at work. With elevation comes responsibility. The spotlight is not a destination, it's a tool through which God's glory will shine. The attention you receive will not be for your own fame, but to point others toward Him. While many crumble under the weight of recognition, you will stand firm because your identity is rooted not in human applause, but in divine purpose. You have been fortified in the fires of adversity, and the light will not expose your flaws. It will reveal the brilliance of what God has done in you. The seeds you've planted in silence are about to bear fruit. Those moments of quiet obedience, the projects you thought no one noticed, the prayers you prayed in solitude, God saw every single one. They were never forgotten. Now, in His perfect timing, those seeds will spring forth in ways that will astonish even you. Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Galatians 6:9. You won't need to chase opportunity, it will find you. The doors that are about to open are not the result of your striving, but of God's divine orchestration. What lies ahead is far greater than anything you could have planned for yourself. It's a level of influence and impact that only He could prepare. Are you ready for the unveiling? The world is waiting, though it doesn't know it yet. Your journey, your trials, your perseverance, they were never just for you. They were for the countless lives that will be transformed by your testimony. This is the moment God has been preparing you for. Will you rise to the calling? The stage is set, and heaven is ready to cheer you on. This is your time. You are the chosen one. This platform, this moment, it has been reserved for you by God Himself. He knows you are capable, and He has prepared you for what is to come. You will not be overwhelmed. You will not falter. You have been molded, shaped, and refined for this very purpose. The world will look to you, and through your life, they will witness the undeniable hand of God at work. This is your moment, and nothing, absolutely nothing, can thwart what has been divinely appointed. As you step into this new season, be prepared for a storm of criticism from those who cling to religious traditions. They will not understand the calling on your life. They will try to shake you with their words, aiming to cast doubt on your path, to discredit the authority God has given you. But hear this clearly: their words carry no weight. You have been fortified by God Himself, and their condemnation holds no power over you. The foundation God has laid in your spirit is unshakable. These critics, the religious elite with their rigid doctrines, cannot touch the depth of what God is doing in you. Their attacks are nothing more than noise, and you have been trained in the silence where only God's voice matters. Are you ready to silence the noise? Are you prepared to walk in the full authority God has given you? The time has come for you to step forward, not in your own strength, but in the strength that comes from the one who called you. Their accusations, their judgments, their misunderstandings, they will come, but they will have no power to stop you. Like arrows that hit iron, their attacks will bounce off you because your armor has been forged in the fires of divine purpose. Your spirit is not rooted in their approval, but in the unwavering call of God on your life. These critics operate out of fear. They fear what they cannot control, and you, chosen by God, represent a freedom that terrifies them. You don't move by the traditions that bind them. You move by divine direction. You are a disruption to their systems, their carefully constructed boxes of expectation, and they will resist you with everything they have. But remember this: their opposition is not a sign of weakness. It is confirmation of your calling. You are not here because you fit neatly into their plans. You are here because you don't. You are here because your life will showcase God's power in ways they have never seen, and that is what terrifies them. You are not bound by religion. You are bound by a calling from God. He has placed His hand upon you, and no man, no institution, no religious system can undo what He has ordained. Their opinions cannot divert you from the path He has set for you. The storms of religious opposition will rage around you, but you will stand firm, unmovable, like a mountain carved by the hand of God. Their voices will fade into the background while your purpose will shine with the brilliance only heaven can bestow. You are about to be a witness to God's greatness. When the critics come, when the storm of opposition rises, know this: it is not a sign that you are on the wrong path. It is a sign that you are exactly where God has called you to be. Their resistance is evidence that you are breaking the mold, that you are ushering in a new era. God has already gone before you, preparing the way, and no weapon formed against you will prosper. The world may question your every move, but the one who called you will validate your every step. Stand tall, stand firm. You have been chosen for this moment. The storms will come, but they will not define you. God has already defined you, and His hand upon your life is all you need. You are His, and no force on earth can undo what He has spoken over you. So, rise with confidence. The world is about to see the power of God in you, and no one can stop it. You are chosen, and nothing, absolutely nothing, can stand in the way of that divine appointment. Right now, it may feel like you're walking a path that others cannot understand, perhaps even feeling isolated in the crowd. People around you may not see the depths of your soul or the profound spiritual journey you're on, but do not let that make you doubt. That isolation is temporary. God is orchestrating something far greater than you can imagine. God is leading you toward a convergence of souls, a divine gathering of your soul tribe, those chosen by Him to walk beside you in purpose, power, and love. These are not just casual relationships. These are divine connections that will ignite your spirit and set you free from the shallow expectations that others have tried to place on you. You will no longer be weighed down by the limitations of those who cannot grasp the fire that burns within you. In this moment, you may feel like you're wandering through a wilderness, unsure of where you're headed, but every single step, every challenge you've faced is leading you to those who will truly see you, not just the surface you, but the spirit within. The isolation you have endured was not in vain. It was necessary. It stripped away the false connections, the superficial relationships built on appearances, and the shallow faiths that couldn't sustain you. God was preparing you, pruning you, so you could bear the fruit that He desires. Now, as your journey continues, God is aligning you with people who will stand with you, not for what you can offer them, but because of the shared fire that burns within both of you. They are waiting for you, just as you have been waiting for them. Your soul tribe is out there, and God is bringing them to you in perfect timing. This tribe will not bind you with religious rules or weigh you down with expectations that are impossible to meet. Instead, you will find a freedom in their presence, a freedom you've only glimpsed in moments of prayer or quiet reflection. Together, you will laugh, cry, grow, and build, unhindered by the traditions that have tried to stifle your spirit. These people are not here to hold you back, but to lift you up and push you forward. This is not just a community. This is the fellowship of the called, the chosen ones, those who have also walked through the fires of rejection and emerged stronger, more powerful, and more deeply rooted in God's love. With them, you will find the courage to be fully yourself. No longer will you have to wear masks or live up to religious pretenses. You will be free, free from judgment, free from comparison, free to express the fullness of your calling. You're not meant to walk this path alone, and soon you won't have to. The people God is sending to you are being prepared just as you have been. They are your brothers and sisters, not by blood, but by spirit. In their presence, you will recognize the same divine hand that shaped your life, shaping theirs. The connection will be immediate and undeniable. You will know, without a doubt, that this is the tribe God has chosen for you, because they too have walked through the same fires and have emerged as warriors of faith. You are chosen, not only by God, but for these people. Together, you will move mountains, break chains, and reflect God's love in ways the world has never seen. The unity that will form between you will be a force for change, for healing, and for transformation. What was once isolation will now become unity. In that unity, your purpose will find its fullest expression, and the world will see the power of God manifested through your lives. The isolation you once felt will be replaced by the strength of the bond you share with those chosen to walk alongside you. As God gathers His people, know that you are an integral part of this divine assembly. The strangers rushing toward you are not to be feared. They are the very ones you've been waiting for, and they are coming at the perfect time. You have been molded, shaped, and refined for this moment. The fame, the recognition, the spotlight, it's not an accident. It's the mantle God is placing upon your shoulders. He is preparing you to carry the weight of His calling, to reflect His glory, and to lead with power and love. You are not here by chance. You are here by divine design. You are not stepping into this unprepared. You are stepping into it fully equipped, because you have endured trial after trial. Every tear you've shed, Every battle you fought has been part of God's refining process, chiseling you into his masterpiece. The enemy has tried to crush you with relentless attacks, but all they've done is reveal your resilience. What was meant to break you only served to strengthen you, to fortify your spirit. And now you stand ready for this next chapter. This is why the spotlight has come to you, because God knew that only you could handle it. This is not about seeking fame or recognition. It's not about drawing attention to yourself. It's about fulfilling a divine calling. The spotlight on you is not meant to glorify you, but to reflect the light of God through you. You have walked in the shadows long enough, enduring the unseen battles, the lonely moments, and the quiet growth. Now, the world will see what God has always known about you. You are his chosen ambassador, his vessel of purpose, finely crafted to display his love and power in ways no one else can. The battles you've faced, the valleys you've crossed, were all preparing you for this moment, to be the living testimony of God's strength and grace. The recognition you've long been prepared for is arriving, and with it will come new challenges. People from your past, those who once overlooked your path or questioned your calling, will return. Their interest will seem sudden, and their motives won't always be pure. Some will want to reconnect, others will come seeking validation or to claim a part of your journey. But remember, you are not the same person they once knew. You are stronger, wiser, and more firmly rooted in who God has made you. You have grown in ways they can't comprehend. Their confusion and their attempts to fit into the new life God is granting you are not your burden to carry. As your visibility grows, so will the pressure. People will try to define you, to mold you into their understanding, but their grasp will never reach the fullness of what God has done in your life. They cannot fathom the depth of the work God has done in you and through you, and they never will. You are not called to meet their expectations. You are called to fulfill God's purpose for your life, and that means staying true to who He has called you to be, regardless of who approves or disapproves, regardless of who tries to box you in. This is not a time for compromise, not a time to dim your light to fit someone else's mold. You have been chosen for this moment. Every battle, every tear, every challenge has been a stepping stone, preparing you for what lies ahead. God is proud of you. You've overcome the storms meant to stop you, and now you stand on the verge of something greater than you could have ever imagined. The fullness of what He is about to do through you is unstoppable. This is your moment. Nothing can stand in the way of what God has already set in motion. The world is about to witness the undeniable work of God in your life, and they will not be able to deny the power of His hand upon you. You've endured the silent seasons, the struggles and battles that no one else saw. In those moments of quiet, when no one was watching, you found peace in God, and now that very peace will serve as your anchor as your life transitions into the spotlight. This is not about you being showcased, but about God's glory being revealed through you. Every moment of preparation, every trial, every quiet season has been building toward this. Now, He is ready to reveal you in a way that the world cannot ignore. As you step into this new season, know that every single step you take is divinely guided and protected. The weight of this calling may seem great, but remember, you are stronger than you realize, and God's presence will never leave you. You are not stepping out alone. His hand is upon you, and it will sustain you through every challenge. The trials that may come are no match for the strength God has been cultivating within you. You have been prepared for this moment, and there is no force that can undo what God has set in motion. Now is the time to boldly share your story. Speak of the quiet moments, the times of struggle, the battles that were fought in the unseen places. and the victories that were won when no one was looking. Your story is more than just a testimony. It is a lifeline for those who are still in their wilderness, for those who feel unseen and unheard. Your journey is proof that their season of revelation is coming, that God is working behind the scenes in their lives too. This is your calling. This is your time. The world is waiting to hear your story, and God is ready to reveal His glory through you in a way that will transform lives and stir hearts. Step forward with confidence, knowing that you are not walking this path alone. God has prepared you for this moment, and nothing will stand in the way of what He is about to do through you.